So today we're talking about choices and choices of career paths, which is the permanent employment, which is um, very well understood and observed by a lot of professionals as a career path, and a versus a contracting world where, depending on what your background is and how you got raised and where and how what your parents work and all the stuff, could have you could have exposure to the contracting world and or not. And I will go also through some of my personal experiences with the contracting world and how it turned out for me. Okay. So in order to talk about the permanent jobs versus contractor work, we're going to do a comparison between both of them and go through certain elements that pretty much um, at the end establish how you see things and which one works better for you. Okay, so I will start by the mindset. And in uh, choosing the direction, there's a lot of things that go into our head onto conceptualizing what this permanent positions are like and contractor, and that the way we conceptualize things would eventually lead to comfort taking one versus the other. So when we look at the mindset in a permanent employment, is that I go work for somebody, and that company is going to provide me income for the next 3, 4, 5 years, or maybe more. And I am sitting there guaranteeing, quote unquote, that I am going to get a salary provided to me at each cycle, bi-weekly or monthly. And in that sense, I perceive that as a low risk. A low risk means that I don't have to necessarily have to worry about finding another job for the next many months, right? When we talk about contracting wants a mentality that is acceptable of risk. Why? Because contracts are on the back of temporary nature for organizations, which is project based. And the definition of a project is that it's a temporary endeavor. So when you get into a project that is 9 months contract, it's very likely that after 9 months the contract is going to end, and somewhere at the 6 months or 7 months you go back into the cycle of securing that next contract, and that include the risk of securing one right away or having a gap of a couple of weeks or more to get the other one, right? So in the contracting world, you are hunting for your job. So you're pretty much like a business, right? Looking for customers. Okay, so that's the mindsets there. Now, when you look at it from a career path, in a permanent employment, there's the ladder approach or concept, which is I am promoting through the ranks one step higher than where I am today, from a consulting to a senior consultant to a manager, senior manager, whatever that path is within your employer's organization. When you work project based, it's not really a clear up the ladder thing. Even if you want up the ladder, you create it yourself in finding opportunities, right? So at one point of time, for example, for me, I could work as a senior consultant, I could work as a solution architect, I could work as a program manager like I'm working now, and there's no ladder. I could work today as a program manager, and tomorrow I would be an architect reporting to a program manager or a project manager, or even a senior consultant reporting to an architect um, or a manager, a project manager. So in that sense, you develop that, and or I always share with people that develop that mentality of being at service regarding. And what is driving most of the time on that side of the contracting is you might get promoted when it comes to hourly pay. So you were paid 50, now you're paid an hour, now you accumulated some experience, you're getting paid 70, 80, 100, whatever that is. In employment, when it comes to setup, there's no particular setup. You just get into the interviews, you're extended an offer from the employer, you accept the offer, you do the onboarding, you're in. Most of the time in contracting, you need to establish a company, right? And accountants some of them have a particular threshold. They say if it's, let's say in North America, your income is more than 70 K per year from that company, it's better for you to incorporate. Incorporate means you're going to go to IRS in the US, or CRA in Canada, the revenue agency, and say, you know what, I want to register for the company, and the company could have certain forms. One form beyond the 70K that is recommended is an incorporation, where the company's financial are independent from your financials as a person. So there is personal taxes and company taxes, or personal liability and company liability at this point. And in the contracting, when you have your company, the employer or the hiring entity are no longer paying you personally, they're paying your company. So when it comes to income and how that reflects in income, in a permanent employment, we know the models of biweekly pay slips, monthly pay slips, weekly pay slips, some sort of periodic, but it is at the end of the day negotiated as a monthly salary or an annual salary. And then the annual salary is broken down to the intervals of the payment. When you talk about contracting, depending on where you contract in the world, we have two models, the hourly rate and the daily rate. So hourly rate is very common in North America, but if you go, for example, to Great Britain, you'll find it by the day. If you go to the Middle East, the Gulf countries in the Middle East, you will find it also by the daily rate. Now, to make a differentiation between the permanent and the contracting when it comes to income, because if you look a line lower, there is something called the benefits. Usually, I coach that when you go for a contract position, make sure your total annual compensation lands somewhere between 1.25 and 1.5 of your permanent salary. The reason why is going to be answered in the line underneath. So in the permanent employment, the employer takes care of what we call benefits. You hear about salary plus benefits. The benefits could be insurance, with different types of insurance. Some examples of insurance are healthy and supplemental health insurance. In our case, because our healthcare in Canada is covered to the most extent, so it becomes supplemental health. In the US, it's not the same, so you might need more for insurance. So the companies go in and put the insurance as a benefit. RRSPs, retirement saving plans in Canada, 401k. In the US, the contributions. So the company would contribute. They would tell you something like, you know what, every $2 you're going to put there, we're going to match it with $2, or sometimes they will match more or less. Okay, and that's something to in the benefits. The insurance, as I said, multiple types of insurance: long-term disability, short-term disability. It could be life insurance. It could be all sorts of insurance. Now, this is part of the benefits package by the company in a permanent employment. Now, when you go as a contractor, if you remember, I said they are actually contracting with your company, and you are part of your company, or you are an employee of your company, not their company, and therefore none of the benefits come into play. And if you want these benefits, you should run them yourselves. And that's why the 1.25 or 1.5 in the top row is to make up for that amount of money. For example, generically speaking, I say if you're at the $100,000 mark salary, consider that the benefits that the company gives to you amount for anywhere between $20,000 to $30,000. Okay, and that also includes the days off that they give you, the 15 days off that are paid, and the 10 days that are holidays and statutory holiday that are in contracting. You're not allowed to bill for them because you didn't work them, but in a permanent employment, the company is paying you for that as part of the legal labor employment laws, right? Okay, so when we come speaking about the time off in the vacation, in a permanent, you get the 2 weeks plus 3 weeks, the 3 weeks could represent the 15, and I'm talking calendar weeks. So the 3 weeks represent the 15 calendar days that you get annual leave. And the 2 weeks represent the on average, the statutory holidays that a country passes by throughout the year. Okay, your Christmas, Canada Day, July 4th, all these things are falling into that 2 weeks. And when you take them off, you obviously your salary is running. But in the contracting, when you take this off, you're zero billing, so you're not gonna get any money for that. And that's why we say we, by design, we set the contractor income at an 8 weeks off per year. Okay, why 8 weeks? Because you have 5 that are paid in the permanent. Okay, so when I still when I coach around that, you would calculate your daily rate based on 44 weeks. People stop and say, why 44 weeks? The year is 52 weeks. I said, because there's 5 weeks that are the statutory holidays plus the paid benefits over there. So that equates you with a permanent employment. And most of the people complain in the 3 weeks, especially those who are immigrants and have extended family overseas. They would love to go and spend more time with their family. So the 3 weeks, even if they take the 3 weeks, all of them, and they go there, when they come back, they don't have any more days to spend, let's say in Canada or the US. So they always say, I want more. So I said, okay, give yourself that flexibility in contracting, because contracting is supposed to be flexible and you're supposed to be, let's say, working for yourself, self-employed. So give yourself that flexibility. If you don't use it in travel, there is it's very less likely that you're going to be able to end a particular contract on a Friday and then start a new contract with a different company on the Monday. So you might have a gap or a week or two, or a gap of searching for another contract. They don't usually latch just back to back. So buffer yourself for that. And if you don't consume it at all and you end up working the difference of the 8 minus 5, 3 weeks, well, that's added income into your pocket. The last thing is the tax implications, which is when you earn your salary, the permanent salary, your pay slip, you always hear about something called source deductions. So you're very happy that you're making $8,000 on paper. So when they say, okay, your annual salary is, let's say, 72. So when you do the mental math, as when you're accepting the offer, you say, 72 divided by 12, that is $6,000. Amazing, right? Then when you get into the job and you actually see your pay slip or paycheck, you'll find that it is something around 4,500. Okay, so where did the 1,500 go? This is what we call the source deductions. The government instructs the employer to withhold this amount at the source so that it can go to the government to figure out the taxes, the CPP, which is the pension. Okay, but that's the government pension. That's different from the ones that you set, like the RRSPs. That are the mandatory social security aspects of living in a place like Canada. So the government will deduct that. At the end of the year, you submit your personal taxes, and maybe you have refunds or maybe you don't. Now, when we look at the contractor side, you're a company. So the company is not going to pay tax except at the end of its fiscal year, when it establishes the profit after the expenses. So anything that you get as a contractor, okay, you're going to keep in your company and only figure out the taxes at the end of the year. But if you also give yourself salary from this company, we'll see on the next slide, then taxes will start kicking in. I will just stop here and pause here for a second and see if anyone has any questions or anything that is not clear about that wants to ask about it before we move to the example on the financials, which is going to be this one. Okay, but do you guys have any questions?
Maybe let's ask another question, Coach Mo. Who did contracting before in this group? If you can raise your hand. Okay, Tarek.
Yeah, you have to tell me, Ahmed, because I can't see except my
Okay,
presentation at this point.
Tarek and who else? Ahmed Zayed did contracting before. Cool. So you know the tricks here about the taxes mostly, but yeah, I think
Now,
the rest of